Beach FM, locals talking to locals.
Kapiti representative from the Greater Wellington Regional Council, Penny Gaylor, good morning to you.
Well, even though the sun is shining, I am wearing a lot of black today.
Oh.
I don't mean to be grim, or I'm still feeling summery.
Indeed.
Why wouldn't you on a gorgeous, sunny day like this?
It is something about New Zealand, actually. I went into a shop in Surfers Paradise and the bloke started talking about, oh, black, he's all black. And I was wearing black, and this is something New Zealanders do. I blame the All Blacks personally, but we do wear a lot of black, don't we? There's no doubt about it.
We do. But I do also like to wear a lot of pink, as people might have noticed.
Indeed.
Yes.
It's one of those colours as well. Thankfully, it's a very fashionable colour these days because it has got other connotations, hasn't it?
And it looks good on the blokes too, John, so why don't
Look, blokes are playing in footy games and cricket matches with pink. Who would have thunk it, 20 or 30 years
funky.
ago? Very, indeed. I wanted to talk to you about climate change because it seems the Greater Wellington Regional Council have made what appears to be a substantive move, a statement of intent with setting up a climate change committee. What is behind this?
Yeah, so as you've heard me talking about in recent times, last year, before the election, the local government elections, Regional Council made a declaration of climate emergency. And we didn't want it just to be a bit of ink on a sheet of paper. It was immediately supported by a kind of a 10-point action plan. And part of that action plan was to say we've got to get the framework within our organisation right as well. And that is about the intent to set up a climate response committee. So, of course, around the hustings, election time, everybody was, hot topic. And then we've managed to get a council around the table that supported unanimously, actually, that we introduce into our structure of committees a climate response committee. So it's not a committee of the whole. There's 7 members. Myself as the chair of the environment obviously is on there, as is the chair and the deputy chair of Regional Council and some other key people. It's chaired by newbie, Councillor Thomas Nash, who was elected by the people of the Wellington City ward. And it's having its first meeting later this month. So as part of the gearing up, we also went out to the market, as they say, because we wanted to not just have us councillors around that table, but also an independent voice with a bit of expert external knowledge to bring into that. And we've just announced who we've appointed to that role, which is Maria Baj, who is in the circles of climate change, very, very knowledgeable and influential. She actually is a associate professor at Victoria University at the School of Maori Studies. So good to have, kind of a fresh lens that she'll bring to that kind of committee as well. So it's us delivering on, as I say, in terms of the 10-point action plan. This is the stuff that then sets you up to then monitor ourselves and keep ourselves very, very focused on what we say we're going to do, and then looking across our organisation and are we doing it.
And are you also going to have environmental metrics, tracking the temperature, tracking the coastline, the accretion, the erosion of the coastline, and also tracking what the social impacts will be of any such climate change?
Yes. So in the last couple of years, we've actually had what we called it was a wee subcommittee that we had members of all the different TAs sitting on this working group, and it was chaired by Regional Council's own Dr. Roger Blakely, who's back on Regional Council and now chairs the Transport Committee. And that was looking at what was our response in terms of coastal hazards. And some research work was done on the kind of the metrics and all that sort of stuff, and how do you kind of calculate all that, the social impact, absolutely the financial impact, the economic impact. I know we've had our ranks up in our community, but we were talking about some of the stuff in one or two dimensions, and we were trying to find what is the fuller impact right across the community, right across the environment, right across the cultural impacts of these things. And I guess, mindful of our time this morning too, that linking in, I wanted to mention that I'll be going to the climate symposium up in Otaki on Sunday that the Kapiti Coast District Council was putting on for our community. And I've registered, and I've also got coming along with me a couple of colleagues, the chair of the Regional Council, Darren Pontiff, and also the chair of our Climate Response Committee, Thomas Nash. We'll all be there at the morning session, which is from 10 to 12. It's a symposium, so we're registered. I gather you should register. It's free to register. That was a lovely change.
Yes, indeed.
I know. And then in the afternoon and this is all happening at Ngā Purapura, so the big gymnasium that is across the road and part of the Wānanga campus in Otaki. And then going on from that, then there's sort of I guess it's kind of like a community day. So Regional Council will be one of others we've got a marquee there, and there'll be some time where, officers will be there, and we just want to have some conversations with the community.
Excellent.
So we'll be there certainly at the symposium listening. I don't know if we get to say anything. Certainly have lots of questions to ask. And but I would say mainly listening, to be honest. And then in the afternoon, a chance just for a bit of, casual interaction with the community, and come and share with us what you're thinking.
Excellent. Yes, I'm a little bit annoyed that it's happening on a Sunday morning. I'm otherwise occupied on Sunday mornings, but I have got Sophie Hanford on the radio tomorrow, so we'll talk more about that. But I'd just like to ask you, because it was late in the last term of the Regional Council that you made a climate change emergency declaration. And I was intrigued to see whether, out on the hustings, whether anyone accosted you about climate change and said, it's all weather, it's, nothing to worry about.
Cyclical.
Yeah, that's right. I've heard that before.
Yeah.
I mean, is that still around?
Yeah. It is. But I tell you what, it is greatly diminished, and that is excessively the minority voice. This is what my 12th year in local government. Mm-hmm. So I did the Otaki Community Board a term, then 2 terms as the Otaki Ward Councillor on KCDC, then a term in Regional Council. Now this is my third term. My second term in Regional Council. So I can track, like a scientist can track those weather patterns.
Yes.
I can track the the political climate, or the social climate of how people, certainly in the Kapiti Coast, talk about climate change. So it used to be, look, try and talk us all into it, try and talk people around to it, try and talk about it even.
That's right.
And it was like, okay. And now people just get it. They're understanding it. I guess, because so many of the young people are talking about it, just everybody kind of gets it in a different way too, because we all have a different life perspective, things that we might focus on. So whether there are some people who are really focused on what's happening on a coastal area, because maybe where they live, where they do their recreation, where they fish or whatever, or then there might be people who are really interested in the impact of rubbish, and then there's people who are interested in kind of, because they're farmers and they really want some clarity and certainty for their planning around what they should be growing because of the weather issues and how it is changing and how it's going to change more. So people are very savvy now, and I have conversations with people. You can see that they're very interested and they're engaged. They get it. Very few people you have to convince. There's some dude called Trump who clearly needs to be convinced.
Yes, but even in the States, Penny, when you see what's happening in the surveys, and of course right now there's a survey every 5 minutes in the States. Yes. Healthcare is their biggest issue, but climate change is the second issue, consistently. Yeah. For red and blue, it doesn't matter whether you're Republican or Democrat, they get it as well. Look what's happened in Australia. It is the biggest political problem that Scott Morrison has at the moment, climate change. Yeah. Who would have thought that?
And I would think that my sense of that issues hierarchy is probably about right, because first and foremost, when you wake up in the morning, you're kind of going, can I get up? How am I feeling? Will I make it through the day? Will I make it through the year? And then you think, and what's happening in the world beyond my doorstep?
That's right.
And, you know, and the water we get through our tap and the price of that and all these sort of things. So, I that would absolutely kind of concur with the feel I get from, certainly, as I say, when you're out in the hustings. You know, what's really interesting is you can say your speech when you're doing these public meetings, but then it's the questions that I'm really interested in, because that's what's top of people's mind, who've made the effort to come out and find out what you're thinking and what the other people are thinking.
And you find out what they're thinking, which is very important. Very
because
important.
How a person,
can learn a lot.
What a person's asking first up is a really big indicator about what they're thinking, but also how they frame the question.
Yes.
You know, is any question ever really completely objective?
Is any person ever really objective? Lovely to talk to you, Penny. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful time in awesome Otaki on Sunday. Thank you so much.
Lovely. Hope to see lots of our community there.
Indeed. Thank you. There we are, Penny Gaylor.
106.3 Beach FM.